Hello, it doesn't happen in one day and it slowly and steadily creeps up upon you. I'm talking about burnout and especially tech burnout. Now, I know there are so many videos out there on YouTube specifically how to go after your goals and kind of hustle your way through it. It looks very different when you are in your 20s and very different when you are in your 30s. I have been a burnt out overachiever, which means that I've overachieved my entire life. So, accountability and ownership is not really the issue here, but it's more about the extreme feelings of exhaustion, which is both mental and physical, and the physiological symptoms that I faced over an extended period of time. Constant headaches that never went away. I would go to sleep with a headache, wake up with one. I wouldn't get sleep at night, and then in the morning, I wouldn't want to get up. I used to feel that my dreams were much, much better than my life. You also have less to no energy for any kind of engagement or people, and you're constantly irritable. My name is Rusha. I'm 34. This is especially talking about quitting a job and tech burnout, especially in your 30s, and how does the journey look like 6 months after. I'm somebody who had a lot of passion and creativity since she was a small child. I'm a single child, which meant that I didn't have too many people to hang out with as a kid. No siblings, nuclear family. So I always had to use my imagination to make life interesting for me. On the flip side, I was good at academics, but I kind of didn't really resonate with academics the way others do. I always wanted jobs which married those two aspects. Now, fast forward, switch completely flipped inside me in my mid 20s when I went through the same kind of hustle phenomenon way before it was a trend. I made sure that I got into the best of the companies that I had my aim for. So think about it. I was doing insurance sales. From there, I went to tech, cloud, SaaS, IT. I have been a non-technical person in the tech space, meaning that I have been in sales and business development my entire life, with either teams reporting to me or me being an IC or individual contributor. I have always loved working with clients and engaging with external stakeholders. I don't want to sit around doing politics internally. The moment you put me in a role where there is sales quota and you have to talk to customers and you have to do C-level buying decisions, I think that's where my personality as well as my strengths really do come out. After this first FAANG company that I worked for around 3.5 years, I definitely learned a lot. Then I moved to my dream company. And if you want to know more about it or where I actually work, you can go to LinkedIn and kind of check it out. Now, when I joined this company, I wasn't coming from a bad place at all. I already had so many perks that FAANG in general or MANG in general kind of gives you. All I thought in my head, they have the best perks in the world. They have the best policies, whether you talk about health, whether you talk about mental health. So I was already enjoying my work, but if I get here, and since I got here, I thought this is going to be the biggest upgrade in my life. And for the first time, I entered media, the industry of media. So by now, I have worked across 3 different industries. I started with banking, moved to cloud. From there, I went to another big tech company. The role I had was brilliant. I had a whole of India, Pakistan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, all of those countries managed independently directly by me as the first hire. And what can be better than that? You are getting independence, you can get autonomy over the market, take and make your own decisions, and you pretty much are the leader of that market. Now, this is where things got very interesting very quickly. I thought in my head that I was the leader of this whole market and I'm going to expand the teams, and I only had one reportee at that point of time. Now, India is not technically a country, it could literally be a continent because of its sheer size, how diverse it is, the total number of languages that are spoken within the country, the different parts of the country work in absolutely different ways. So anybody who has been in sales and quota carrying roles in India would know this. While the diversity is very rich, it can also be quite daunting for somebody who goes in a role and has the whole country to manage. Also, mind you that the companies during these times are actually going through hiring freezes. So it started with hiring freeze and then went on to mass layoff. Now, me being the first hire of the team didn't help at all because there was no real ramp up. Now, I kind of saw this pattern from day one that nobody wanted to take ownership of training me at all. And this was very surprising to me because I was coming from another FAANG company where they spent money and time to train me because they believe that once you get to that place, you can bring in more sales and do much better for the company. Suddenly, I'm put into a situation which is a startup within a very big organization. There is no way this was a 9 to 5. And I was made to believe that this is your company and think about how do you want to grow it the next day and the next day and the next day. The innovation didn't seem to stop at any point of time, and this is without even half of the resources that I had in my previous FAANG company. Very quickly, the perks, novelty of it completely wore off because all I needed at that point of time was a support system. I never ever heard that we are in it together. It always felt like I was trying to play catch up. My manager didn't come from this background at all, had no clue of what this role really required, didn't help either. So she was great at tracking, project building. Those were some of the skills that I've definitely learned from her. But the skills that I needed for the job, which came to industry knowledge, how to talk to customers, who are going to be my end customers, actual names of the customers, and how can we have a strategic relationship with them, that was totally missing. lack of psychological safety kind of kicked in from month one. Of course, there were many other problems, but I would say that my working hours increased exponentially. And we are not talking about any random organization here. Best of the best. My dream, many people's dreams, right? So it's almost funny. And also, on top of that, there was a bullying incident which I had shared with my manager. Simply casually brushed it up once as communication issue on my part. So that also gave me a very clear signal that nobody's gonna take my side. And I think I have not been in such a lonely role in spite of being surrounded by so many people ever. Everybody was nice to you, but nobody really wanted to help you. Even if people helped you out, it felt like either they were doing a favor or you were stupid for even asking that question. I'm also going to tell you like a very fun incident that happened. So when I kind of shared the fact that I didn't have a good ramp up or support system as mentioned, I was told, number one, but you should have spoken up. So that was the only response that I got. The second funny thing that I received was, don't worry, Rusha, everybody goes through imposter syndrome, especially people in this organization go through it. So we have documentation and resources where you can go and help yourself with what to do when you have imposter syndrome. I came very confident to this company. I was like, listen, I don't have imposter syndrome. I don't feel like I don't deserve it or I'm not good enough. I want resources and support. I don't think that problem is I'm not good enough. The sheer number of times the word imposter syndrome has been used, I personally feel, to gaslight employees as well, was absolutely astounding. It just never stopped. It never got better. And I was here for 1.5 years. It's not that 6 months in, I'm like, I'm done. Started planning my finances. I think the first time that I had that feeling of psychological unsafety, my learning or my experience here wasn't prioritized at all. You have all these perks, you have all these benefits. How can you complain? The sheer amount of things that you have bottled up inside every single day, you know for a fact that no one cares about you, even though there are all these perks to kind of mask the fact that no one cares about you. I think that eventually really got to me over a period of time. I was extremely overworked. I was not utilizing my strengths. Instead of spending time in a quota carrying role on field where you're talking to external clients, my role slowly and steadily became all about internal projects. So these are projects spread all across the world, which ideally should be done by a program manager or a project manager. It all feels like a haze because I cannot pinpoint an exact moment where I felt that this went wrong. What do I even want to show another company that I created all these trackers for internal team members? How does that really help? I don't aim to become a project manager right now. In my mid 30s, I am right now in a very no bullshit phase where I'm just not going to stand up for something that is just for the show. Sometimes at work, you need a balance. You need a balance between the work that you're doing, people that you're with, the money that you're making, environment around you, the support, and how do you feel. Even if you hate the work, you could have great co-workers. Even if you hate your co-workers, your manager could be great, your work could be great. There's always that balance which is needed. It cannot be just money. You can do that for a good amount of time, but after a point of time, it becomes such a severe amount of exhaustion. And I think that's where I reached. So these were the reasons. Now I'm going to come on very quickly to what happened to me. Spoke about the headache that never went away. This is in a much later stage. I started developing constant panic attacks, and I would have it maybe when I would go to a cafe. Out of nowhere, I would have a panic attack. I also started having severe chest pain, and if you've been somebody who has been in this situation, I'm very sorry if this is something that you're going through. I would have chest pain so severe that I would just sit and I would beat my chest like this to reduce the pain. And I just remembered that I haven't done that in a very long time, since the time I have left my job. But in the height of learning curves in my job, I would sit down and I would beat my chest because it would get so heavy that I wouldn't be able to breathe after a point of time. And this didn't go away. And the chest pain just got heavier and heavier. I also remember this one point where my chest started hurting so much that I went flat on the ground because the cold floor kind of broke. And see, again, I know all those techniques in CBT and stuff like that, but I kind of did it because my body naturally wanted me to do that. I would just lie on the floor for some time with the coldness of the floor hitting my body, and I felt that maybe that could take away some of the pain that I was feeling in my chest. And I also entered into this whole kind of recurring cycle of doing very heavy breaths. Like I couldn't have normal breaths anymore, and they were not serving me, so I would breathe like, and not like a breath work kind of a way, but I would have times during the day when I just wouldn't be able to breathe normally. So very subconsciously I would do like a full diaphragm breathing to even be able to breathe because I was having breathing trouble. It used to take me 1 hour, 1.5 hours to commute from office to work. I would constantly be into breath work, kind of meditation sort of thing, like with my earplugs on, like in full volume, blasting it. Or I would be listening to any sort of like CBD technologists from YouTube, because obviously a sheer amount of therapy that I was doing in general was definitely not helping out. It got so bad to a point. I remember there was this one day when I genuinely thought that my heart's gonna stop anytime. Like, I'm probably not even gonna live for the next 2 days. My health was at its worst. I was constantly stressed. I couldn't think of anything, couldn't focus on anything. There was nothing other than my job in my life. I didn't have the slightest energy to even do things that I love. I would eat crap the moment I would come back home. I would switch on Netflix, I would switch on something on the TV, drown my thoughts out completely. Then I would try to fall asleep to that because I would be too tired to do anything. And then I would try to go to sleep. I wouldn't get sleep. And then if by chance I did and if I woke up in the morning, I wouldn't want to get up from the bed. It was a constant cycle of thinking that I literally have nothing else to look forward to. Before this, I was always excited about what to do next, where to move next. But maybe this dream of mine took so much to get here and then kind of survive here. I didn't know what else I looked forward to in life because I clearly didn't. There were no goals, there were no plans. Coupled with that, the thought that I have to stay here. Now, I have had existential dread before as well, but I feel like this kind of dread in your mid 30s, sort of, they hit you very differently. I was smart enough to start my financial planning much before that. I definitely didn't have a lot saved. Whatever I did, my simple goal was, if it ever came to a situation that my overall health is compromised, my mental health is compromised, and I physically feel hurt and incapable of moving forward, I'm going to put my papers down. It was also coupled with the idea that I wanted to give content creation one shot because this has been my one big dream that I wanted to achieve for myself. Secondly, I also wanted to see that if I took a bet on myself, where will I land? Would I even be able to do it and not lose my mind? So I had all these questions in mind. It was just enough to last you for maybe like 1.5 years. That's it. It wasn't 10 years, 15 years. And again, I don't have kids. I don't have those responsibilities. And I saw that I hit the number, but I was still working. I think I extended another 4 months and I went on this big trip and I came back and I realized, like we all know, nothing ever changes. You go away and all the work piles up. Every single time I had that kind of a hard situation, I would tell myself, Rusha, another 3 months, the moment we hit the target, we are going to quit. Then I said, another 2 months, we hit the target, we are going to quit. But I didn't. I extended it by another 4 months because that's what happens to human beings. We start adapting and we start thinking that we can do more, we can push more and stuff. But I needed to honor myself to take a break, which was weighing so heavily on me. And then I decided that I'm just going to put down my papers, and I did. Fast forward to now, life has obviously been a little different and obviously it's challenging in its own ways. But if I had to sum it, I'm so happy that I took the decision and nothing could have changed my mind. Or even today, there is not a single bit of regret around the decision that I took. Whatever I set out to do in the first place, I've kind of achieved them. Have I achieved a 10k followers? I haven't. Have I been able to give the output that I initially aimed for 4 reels per week? Yes, I have hit my goals. Have I been able to take care of my mental health and my physical health? Yes. Has my physical health and mental health improved drastically? It has. All those pain symptoms have gone away. Yes, there are bits and pieces of the stress still remnant, and that's just how it's going to happen. I'm a much happier person who now has agency and can control the time that she spends on things that she wants to spend on. I also feel that my relationship with myself and with my friends around has improved drastically. I have been able to finally smile and bring the same energy that I had earlier, way before this job was there in my life. I've heard this or gotten this feedback from people that this time around when I talk to people, I just sound different and I feel different in general. Now, I think it's also very easy to get into a trap of saying that, oh, I'm going to accomplish XYZ as soon as I quit my job. You literally quit because of your burnout. And if you again push yourself that hard, you're going to lead into another burnout. And the worst thing is, if you get into creative burnout, creativity is the space that I enjoy and it fulfills and energizes me. So if I'm reaching a burnout there, that's just such a shame. I have been able to get to a A1 level of German and I'm doing it from scratch. I've never studied it before. So I think that's one of my biggest achievements because it's not been an easy journey. I like the pace at which I'm going. Do I think that I've fully recovered? I don't know. I don't have the answer. Do I think that I'm doing much better? Of course, 100% yes. I have a lot of clarity in my thought. I'm once again kind of thinking about what do I want to do in my late 30s and my early 40s, and I'm watching and following around people who are much older than me, so my viewpoint has changed as well. I have finally figured out that no company is the answer to all of your problems, and definitely you can hustle your way through into a company, especially when you are much younger, because that is what is required. I did that as well. But once slowly and steady you'll start getting a little older, you need to also be very clear about what do you want from your work, what do you want from your job, and you also kind of settle down into a stage in your mind where you're mature and you're very confident in yourself. You know your own strengths, so you're not just gonna get imposter syndrome out of nowhere. So you're gonna know what you're good at, and if people are saying something to you, you're gonna stand up for yourself. So once you reach that stage, I feel it's important to sit down and evaluate what your priorities are. One of the reasons this was so important for me to make is because there are so many videos which are made on how tech is amazing and the perks that you get ready with me for my job and the fancy life that is shown. I have lived two of those fancy lives in two of the biggest FAANG companies. Nobody really talks about the burnout that can come with tech, especially if it is a dream company. I think it's a different kind of heartbreak altogether. So I hope you could get something from my video today, and feel free to share your journey with me as well. We can all be a community for each other. Thanks for watching.